Back in the Word, y'all. Let's see what God has to say about money. There's so many things He says about money. It's actually pretty incredible. 2,350 different times He mentions money and investing in the Bible. He is very, very concerned with how we steward the resources that He gives us. He gives us many, many examples, so much wisdom in the Word. And I'm only going to talk to you about 2 today, but this is one of the pillars of being financially responsible that, these 2 verses speak to. The first one is Proverbs 27:23. And it says, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds." Well, back when the Bible was written, that was currency. Livestock, oil, those 2 things that was money, currency. So God is telling you, you need a budget. You need a plan. You need to know where your money is going. If you have no idea, at the end of the month, you look at your bank account and it's empty and you're just like, where did it go? That's your first problem. You have to have a budget. It needs to be written. You don't gotta have some fancy way to do it. There are free apps. I personally I'm an old school girl. I use an Excel worksheet that I created over a decade ago. And it just carries from, each month has a page and the formulas carry on all the way. I can see all the way to the end of the year what happens each time something happens. And, all my bills are in there. And, I know the state of my flock. I know where my money is going. And that is number 1, you have to do that. The second verse that stood out to me today was Proverbs 21:20. "In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has." Pretty straightforward. Don't spend it all. God wants you to save. Your ultimate goal for Christians is the 10-10-80 rule. And, tithe 10%, save 10%, and live on 80%. And I know that is a very lofty goal. And, that 10% tithe is an Old Testament thing. In the New Covenant, I believe that God is telling us that, He wants us to be a cheerful giver. He wants us to pray about how much we give, but He does want us to allot for giving in our income, because He doesn't need your money. He wants you to tithe just to acknowledge that it's all His. None of it really belongs to you. You are a manager of God's money. And, like I said, the first step to being a responsible manager of God's money and a good steward is to have a budget. Know the state of your flocks. And don't spend it all. Once you know where it is and what's going in and out, plan so that it's not all gone. You need to have an emergency fund. It's, that's common sense, because things do come up and you don't want to be caught, unable to cover whatever comes up. If your car breaks down, if you end up having to go into the hospital, or, there's so many different things that can come up. So yeah, first things first, let's get a budget. That's what God says to do. So yeah, all the answers are in here. Life's a test. Open book though. So let's all get in the book, stay in the Word, stay in prayer, and life is going to be easier. Hope y'all have a blessed day. God bless y'all.